When I first applied this, I looked in the mirror and I stepped back and I was like, hey now, hey now. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing another foundation review, a classic that has recently had a little bit of a makeover, and that is the L'Oreal True Match Foundation. Many of us are familiar with the classic L'Oreal True Match Foundation, and this is a foundation I have used for at least a decade now, because I started using this when I was in college, and I haven't been in college since 2010. So it's been over 10 years. I've used this for quite a while. I love this, and when they released a new version, I was very apprehensive because it's like, do I need to find this like on eBay and stock up, or am I gonna love this formula? So if you want to find out my thoughts on this one, how it compares to this one, let's jump right into the video. To get started with today's foundation application, I am going to start by priming my skin, and I'm going to be using my NYX Plump Right Back with Zack Electrolyte Mix Plumping Serum Primer. This primer has just really stolen my heart since I started using it. I might go a little heavy with it. I use 2 full pumps. I like this because it's very moisturizing. And after I let my sunscreen dry down, I really like to add just an extra shot of moisture to the skin. And I even like this right under my eyes. If you've seen my other foundation reviews, you know I'm a huge advocate of letting your primer and your skincare all set down before you apply your next layer. Let's talk about the foundation we're going to be looking at today, which is the L'Oreal True Match. So this is an updated formula. The previous formula looked like this, and I did buy a pump from MAC and put it on because the MAC pump for the Studio Fix Fluid Foundation fits on this really well, and it also fits on Estee Lauder Double Wear. I've heard recently that there is a pump that fits this on Amazon that I think is cheaper than the MAC ones, but when I worked for MAC, I got a handful of these pumps, and I think with my employee discount, they were around $3, so they were really affordable. In the previous formula, it was called L'Oreal Paris True Match Super-Blendable Makeup Lotion. I had shade N2 or neutral shade 2, and it was called Classic Ivory. The newer updated version is L'Oreal Paris True Match Super Blendable Foundation. Perfectly matches color and texture. Both products are 30 ml, which I find interesting because if we look at the previous bottle versus the current bottle, they both say they are 30 ml product, but it looks like you get more product in this version, but you know, shapes with your packaging can be deceiving. Shade N2 was the closest match I had in the previous formula. I've run into an issue recently where a few of the shades I used to wear in foundation are sometimes feeling a little dark. Like, I don't know if you can really see that here. It's a very workable match. So there's a faint bit of like a peachy yellow tone to this one. Since starting YouTube, and even before I started YouTube, I did a series of in-office IPL treatments, and I did my face, my neck, and my chest, and that helped with breaking up hyperpigmentation on the surface of my skin as well as combating some redness I had. And since then, I have found, since the uneven tones have faded towards the background, now I'm looking at foundation shades and I'm like, I can't go as dark as I used to. Now, I still have this issue, not as bad anymore, but I always run into the issue where my face, my neck, and my body were all slightly different tones. And with doing the IPL and working to maintain a more even skin tone in my home care routine, I have slowly started to help balance out these tones. How that relates to this foundation, I was trying to figure out what shade to get in the new version because there were more shades, and there was a handy dandy shade matcher. So it said if you were shade N2 in the original formula, you would be in 2.5, which is called Natural Almond in the new formula. But let's just look at the bottle, and I ordered this offline because here in Canada, L'Oreal has an official Amazon storefront. So whenever a brand has an official Amazon store, I feel comfortable buying their products through Amazon. This got home and I'm like, wait, this color looks a little different. So I came upstairs, compared to this, and you can see the older formula and the shade they said matched it. They look quite different. It's like in the bottle, shade N2 looks a lot more saturated. It looks like it has more clarity in the color. It looks a little bit warmer or more peachy. Whereas in 2.5, this looks more desaturated. It's more of a muted quality. It almost looks kind of beigey green in the bottle. So then I ordered shade 2N, which is called Vanilla. And if we compare these two, shade 2 in the newer formula looks darker and a little bit more beigey. It doesn't have that same kind of clarity in the bottle that this one does. So then let's compare these two in the bottle. So we have N2 and N2.5. N2 looks about a full shade darker than N2.5. Here is shade 2. I'm gonna try to see in my mirror what you all are seeing. So shade N2, which is right through here, is too dark. We'll take N2.5 and let's go right here. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but right here is shade N2.5 versus N2. N2.5 is a much better match for me. Now, it's a little bit more green olive in the undertone, but it does have that muted quality I like in a foundation. The shade that works best for me is 2.5 in. So I start with one pump, and the pump on this is very generous. I feel like one pump of this is equal to about 2 pumps of most other foundations. I'm gonna use my BK Beauty 101. I'm gonna pick up a little bit, and I start in the center of my face and blend outwards. The previous formula, it was a pretty solid medium coverage. It was adaptable. You could shear it out. You could build it up. This formula, very, very similar. It's very adaptable. I find it's just as good, if not a little better, than the original formula. This is a formula that if you prep your skin well, you apply a thin layer and just really focus on spreading a little bit out, it wears very much like a secondary skin. It's a great tonal match, and this little bit of a greeny olive tone it has, it's going to help neutralize the redness I have, but where it's a slightly cooler kind of olivey tone, it's going to neutralize the redness in my face to blend in with the more kind of neutral tone of my body. I love this foundation, but shortly after this was released, L'Oreal released another foundation that I love. I need to do like a head-to-head comparison test between that one and this one, and I'll grab that one in just a second and we will look at that. Here we have one layer of the newer L'Oreal True Match in shade in 2.5 Natural Almond. So the other L'Oreal foundation I was referring to is the newer L'Oreal True Match Nude Hyaluronic Tinted Serum. This one I wear shade 0.5-2, very light. This is also 30 ml of product, and the L'Oreal True Match Tinted Serum looks just a pinch darker in tone, and it's slightly more of a cool pinky beige color versus where this is a little bit more muted and greenish. That being said, this is going to give you more of a medium adaptable coverage, so you can either shear it down or you can build it up. I find this one is a very sheer coverage, and you can build it up to a medium, but I find it looks its best when worn in one thin layer, and that's going to give you pretty much a light coverage. Over the last few videos, when I'm reading comments and responding to comments, it's like, how does this foundation compare to this one? Do you recommend this one or this one? Should I buy this one or this one? It's been a little tricky because for the most part, the foundations I've been reviewing, other than some of the ones I've recently purchased or some that they were in my collection and I kind of shelved them because I didn't enjoy them, I've had some really great experiences with foundations from both drugstore and higher end. Wearing this foundation this week, all I could think about is it reminds me of a foundation, and L'Oreal has always been a little bit pricier for the drugstore. I believe this one retails for around $20 here in Canada. This reminds me of a slightly more natural / satin finish version of my beloved number 1 de Chanel. Now, this one is shade B12, which it's a little deceiving because the package is frosted. It makes the shade look a little bit richer, and this is a little bit more true glass. But you can see biggest difference is this has a slightly more cool pinky tone. It's a little bit more true in the undertone. This is a little bit more desaturated. This one is going to give you more of a light to medium coverage. It has a very beautiful natural luminous finish. It's not a full luminous, but it's not going to be a satin natural matte finish. It's somewhere between a natural finish and a more luminous finish, whereas this one is pretty flat, middle of the road. It's not luminous, it's not matte, it is that perfect in the middle of the two. This for me is, I was like, maybe now that it's getting warmer, I'm getting a little bit more oily throughout the day, and I'm thinking to myself, am I gonna reach for this over this in the summer? Because I love this and I love this. So yesterday when I was wearing them, I had the idea to take a half a pump of this and a half a pump of this and mix them together, and oh my goodness, it was so good. It's so good. I mean, you have a $90-something foundation and a $20 foundation, so that makes your foundation combination now over $100, which is not the most sustainable thing, but it's a gorgeous combination. So if you have both you like to mix, highly recommend mixing these two formulas. And to stay consistent with what I've been doing recently and talking about a concealer, this week I revisited one of my favorite L'Oreal products, and that is the True Match Eye Cream in a Concealer with 0.5 pure hyaluronic acid. I have shade in 1-2 Fair, and I did review this when I reviewed this, and I still love it. And then work it between my two ring fingers, and then stamp, stamp. And then I've just been using my foundation brush to go through and smooth everything out. So there we go. Foundation, concealer applied. I'm happy with it. So I'm gonna finish off the rest of my makeup off camera, and I will be right back and we'll talk about all the details of this foundation and who I think will enjoy it. Alrighty, I am back. The rest of the makeup is on, and oh my goodness. When I first applied the look all together, it was like a light bulb moment in my mind. Everything just came together. The foundation primer combination with sunscreen just to smooth the texture of the skin, coming closer. It was just such a good makeup week all around. So the foundation that I was testing out this week is the L'Oreal True Match Super-Blendable Foundation. I had two different shades, and I wanted to see how they compared against my original, which was the original formula of this foundation. The shade that works best for me is 2.5 in Natural Almond. It is lighter than shade 2 in the previous formula, and it is lighter in 2 in this formula. It is a neutral undertone, but it is slightly on the cooler, slightly olive side, so it has a little bit of a neutral olive tone with a dash of a cool green, which is great for offsetting my redness. Here in Canada, this retails for $19.99, and you get 30 ml of product, which breaks down to about 67 cents per ml. The shade range for this foundation is variable. I have not found a retailer that carries this that has all of the shades, and there is a shade discrepancy between the shades available here in Canada, the UK, and the US. The average, though, for shades available in this formula of the L'Oreal True Match is 45 shades, which is very impressive for a foundation range. And L'Oreal is one of the big kind of conglomerates in the beauty industry. So L'Oreal, if you're unfamiliar, they're an umbrella brand. So they own brands like L'Oreal Paris, Lancome, Armani. They own SkinCeuticals, La Roche-Posay. So they have quite a large umbrella, and I think it's nice that they put out a more inclusive shade range with variable undertones. Now, the pros and cons of this foundation. For the drugstore, it is a pricey foundation retailing at $20. I feel like a little bit of product goes a long way. For an entire face, I used one full pump and then a tiny little dot mixed with a dot of concealer where I wanted a little bit more coverage. I have been using this foundation. I used it a lot when I first got it. Then I picked this up, and then I kind of forgot about the other one. But using this week, I think I like this a little bit more than the Nude Serum. It's a much easier dispense mechanism compared to the pipette that comes on this, because this can get a little gloopy if you're not careful. And like I mentioned in the application, when I was applying this throughout the week, I was just thinking, this reminds me a lot of my beloved number one de Chanel, where this retails for $19.99. This retails for, I always forget, it's either like $94 or $95 here in Canada, and this is also 30 ml product. So quite a different price point. This is more on the natural luminous side, and this is more a straight natural. It's not luminous, it's not matte, it is a skin-like finish right in the middle. And I did try mixing the two of these together. Stunning combination. A very expensive foundation mix if you're gonna mix them together, but it was a very, very gorgeous foundation day when I mixed the two of these together. And if you're someone who feels like the number one de Chanel is a little too luminous for you, but you don't want a full-on mattifying finish, something like the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Matte or the Estee Lauder Double Wear, then I think you might really, really enjoy this. This is a solid medium coverage. It is an adaptable medium coverage, so if you're someone who wants the option to sheer your foundation out to have more of a light medium coverage, or you want to build it up for a medium to full coverage, this is a great foundation that is very adaptable and customizable. Who do I think would enjoy this newer formulation of the L'Oreal True Match Foundation? Honestly, everyone. Say for instance you're someone who has a low oil production and your skin is more prone to being dry, flaky, then you could still use this, but make sure you prep your skin well, add a nice hydrating primer underneath it, produce a lot of oil throughout the day. I feel like you can still make this work, but you might want to make sure your sunscreen's a little bit more mattifying, and if you use a primer, it has a little bit more of a mattifying finish as well. So I feel like this is very workable, and the shade range is wonderful. I am just a huge, huge fan of applying this foundation as well as most all of my other foundations with my BK Beauty number 101. However, throughout the months of owning it, I've used a duo fiber brush like the MAC 180. Is it MAC 180, the larger duo fiber? Because the 188 was smaller, and then there was a mid-size. I can't remember the number of that, but I think it was discontinued. But the duo fiber brushes work really, really well. You can use a sponge. I use sponges more so now for taking off edges. You can use your fingers. It works well for that. So it's a very flexible, very adaptable, very workable foundation. I feel like would suit a wide range of people. So that is going to wrap up today's foundation review. If you enjoyed this a little bit more casual, chatty, just explaining my thoughts and feelings on everything, leave this video a thumbs up and let me know in the comment section down below. Over the last 2 months or so, I just feel so much more comfortable on camera. Something about when I did that Lisa Eldridge foundation review, something about that just was like a turning point where things started just feeling like more, you know, relaxed and friendly and just easy to talk on camera, less kind of scripted and teacherish. But if you leave me a comment down below with your thoughts on this foundation or whatever thoughts you have, and share this video with a friend that you think might enjoy it, I will see you all in the next video. Bye, y'all.